Hey, welcome to This Building Blocks. I'm Christopher Harrison. That's Jeremy Foster. And today we're going to be talking about IoT or Internet of Things. But before we go any further, let's go ahead and introduce yourself so that way you know a little bit about who we are. So, Jeremy.
All right, let's do this. I'm Jeremy Foster. It's good to be here with you. And it's good to be here talking about a really fun subject. Like, we're not talking about data access layers or anything like that. We're talking about IoT, and this is great. So now I hear that you guys are going to be at Build or in the workshop, and so you're going to be working with this stuff, and that's inherently fun. So we're going to bring you some good content. Like Christopher said, I'm Jeremy Foster, and just a little bit about myself, some contact information. I'm a technical evangelist here at Microsoft, and you can find me on Twitter at CodeFoster. You can also feel free to find me on my website at codefoster.com. You can see I kind of reuse the Code Foster thing here and there. Also, I have a podcast called Code Chat. You can find that at codefoster.com/codechat. And if you're interested in the IoT subject, which I'm going to assume you are because you're tuned into this, you might like the content on the makershow.io. That's a new show that we just spun up recently.
Okay, I like it. By the way, I have to admit something. I actually find data access layers exciting.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's just me.
More power to you.
In any event, I am Christopher Harrison. I'm a content producer here at Microsoft Learning. I am going to tell Jeremy to advance to the next slide. Very unprofessional, but that's all right. We're here to have a little bit of fun as well. And sort of like Jeremy, it's all about having a good brand. And so my basic name is Geek Trainer, and you can find me kind of all over the internet, in particular at Twitter. And then I periodically blog at blog.geektrainer.com. Unfortunately, I don't blog nearly as often as I would like to, but you know, that just sort of happens.
It's happened to me lately as well.
Exactly.
Now, I have to ask for a little bit of clarification here, Christopher.
Yeah.
Are you a geek who trains, or are you someone who trains geeks?
Both.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
A geek
who trains
from
column
geeks.
A little from column B.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I'm a geek
Wonderful.
who trains geeks. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Should we just dive in now?
Well, yeah, actually, I think you've sort of set the stage perfectly as to who the audience is, and we're assuming that you've done .NET. We were assuming that you maybe haven't played a whole lot, he said in English, with IoT, and that you're wanting to get a little bit of background information before you go in and check out the workshop, either in person at Build or checking out the workshop available online. So that's really the target audience. So now I think we can jump right on into it.
Yeah, so I think basically that means that this is not going to be a deep dive into the bits of the IoT programming. If that's what you're looking for, just hit back or something right now, because we're going to be doing a bit of an overview and some contextualizing. Is that fair?
That's very fair. And in fact, if you are looking for deeper dives, if you check out MVA, which is where you are right now watching this, you will notice that we do have other IoT content that's available that you can get in and check out. So basically what we're trying to do is give you a little bit of context, a little bit of information, so that way you don't have to go back and watch a 6-hour course just to get ready for the workshop. Let's work through this. If you go through this and you go, hey, you know what? I can figure things out from here. That's great. Then we've served our purpose. We've hopefully then led you on into the workshop. And if you watch this and you go, hey, you know what? That was great content, but I feel like I want a little bit more. Go check out the MVA. That's exactly what the full MVAs are there for.
Yeah, good. Okay, well, let's go for it. So we're going to really just be talking about 3 things today. Those things are IoT. It is all about IoT right now, and specifically, we're going to be talking about Microsoft's contributions to the world of IoT. It's a big world, and this is a big topic, but Microsoft has some really awesome contributions to this world on the client, in the server, and in this whole realm of IoT and of making things. And it's really bifurcated a bit, because you've got your hobbyist maker type that is, you know, buying a board or 2 or 10 and making some really cool things with them. And then you've got your enterprise IoT developers that are making some, you know, gigantic solutions with the same exact stuff. So it's a really big world. These are the topics generally that I'm going to cover today. Right now, we're going to talk about the IoT as an overview, okay? A small overview to IoT, because I don't know about you, but I'm getting a little bit of IoT overview fatigue, you know, like people describing what IoT stands for and what that means and stuff. And really, you can't really define the word thing or give it meaning.
I suppose you can't.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm going to do a short overview of IoT, just define the terms a little bit. And I have my own definition of IoT that I think will kind of create some talking points and hopefully help to just kind of set the stage for what this is and why you would be making things for a device, why you would be making things for a digital device, what the purpose would be and what your context would be. Then we're going to talk about Windows 10 IoT Core. Now, this is Microsoft's contribution to IoT on the client side. This means that you have a device and it needs an operating system to make it so that you don't have to write, assembly code and machine code and stuff like that. And so we've got an operating system that sits on these devices called Windows 10 IoT Core, and we're going to discuss that. Now, when you kind of get that around that concept, then you're ready to start developing for it. And so the next topic is developing and deploying to your device. All right? And finally, we're going to talk about Microsoft's contributions on the server side. So we talk about the client, the actual devices, but then any interesting project in IoT has connection to the cloud. It needs to have that cloud connectivity to talk to the servers and thus the rest of the world, as well as to talk to other IoT devices. So that's a far more interesting scenario, and it's enabled by cloud connectivity. So we'll discuss that. Does that sound like a plan?
That sounds like a plan to me. I'm excited.
Well, let's start with an IoT overview then. So this is, like I said, again, a short IoT overview. Where is IoT? Where is it headed? What does it mean? And it really just means that all of a sudden these things have some presence in our lives. My coffee machine all of a sudden has some sort of a presence in my life. It's a thing. And it's interesting because we've always been mapping devices, usually devices that have screens, to people. There's always a person that's logging in. You're signing into this. You're signing in over here. Maybe I should give this guy my credentials so that he can sign in here. Or maybe I've got a machine that's set up in the factory and I just want to log in with a service account because it needs a user, right? We've planned for users logging into these things. Well, now that's just completely unmanageable and we need to do it differently. So we're talking about things on the internet. Now, this IoT thing is gigantic. And if you look back at the trend over the last few years, you can see that it's hilarious. For a decade, we've had a pretty flat definition or a level of interest in the term IoT. And then sometime around 2014, boom, this thing's exploded. I mean, it's just on an absolute hockey stick trend here. And in fact, it doesn't look like it has any sort of stability until you compare it to something like Puppy Monkey Baby, where all of a sudden it puts it in context. And you can see that it's not just a fad. It's got some staying power. Yes, I said it. It's got some staying power. I think there's more staying power in IoT than there is in more short-term fads. So there are lots of definitions of IoT, but here's mine. I just kind of conjured up a little bit of moxie and said, I'm going to throw out the other definitions of IoT that I've heard because they just sound like, well, they just weren't helpful for me. So I decided to make my own, and that was computation.
Own the space, Jeremy.
That's right.
Own the space.
Define the space.
Yeah.
I'm going to define it. Computation that's no longer limited to devices with screens. It's far more pervasive, and it assumes an eventual connection to the cloud. And finally, this is computation that integrates with and enriches the environment in our everyday lives. So there's a few words in there that I kind of want to break down. First of all, like I mentioned, we're no longer just talking about devices with screens. We had PCs. We've had PCs for a long time. We got phones. We've got, for programming these devices, we've got different technologies, client technologies and web technologies. And then we got little watches, and still we're talking about a device per user. We're talking about screens, things that your eyeballs are going to be responsible for interacting with. And that's not the norm in the world of IoT. It's no longer the norm. These are devices that don't have screens. They might be under 10 feet of snow in Antarctica, or they might be inside of the engine of a commercial airliner. They could be anywhere. They could be embedded in concrete or built into your wall or built into your TV or strapped around your wrist. They could be anywhere. They could be on the collar of a dog or the collar of a cow. They could be anywhere. So that's really important in this definition. These are more pervasive, far more pervasive. We have, it was somewhere around 2008 that the number of connected devices, now when I say connected devices, I want you to think your Nest thermostat is connected because it's connected to the internet, but like your VCR, that's not connected. So even though it's an electronic device, my VCR is not attached to the internet anyway.
What's a VCR?
Perhaps we should define VCR for So we're talking about things that are communicating online. These are connected devices. And in 2008, the number of connected devices surpassed the number of people in the world, roughly 7 billion. And that was a milestone that most of us missed. We were busy that day. But it's true. Now there are more connected devices than people. And now there are far more connected devices. And in 2020, there's supposed to be like 50 billion connected devices. That's like 8 devices per person. I mean, it's huge. We're talking really large scale here. So these are pervasive, not necessarily mapped to people. They're pervasive. They do assume an eventual connection. That's arguable, maybe a little bit subjective as far as the definition goes, but I really don't think that these projects are true IoT projects unless they are connected to the internet. It's part of the definition, the Internet of Things.
It sort of makes sense that if we're going to call it Internet of Things, that it should actually be connected to, wait, it'll come to me, the internet.
The internet.
Yeah.
Yep. That was a really great observation.
Thank you.
That was keen.
This is what I'm here to provide.
Now, these things are going to integrate. They're going to be a part of, and they're going to enrich. That means that they're not just going to be a part of it, but they had better make it better.
Right.
They need to make it better, and they need to make our environment and our lives better, okay? So I always say, and if you listen to me online, you've heard me say it before, technology is not inherently valuable. It's only valuable if it makes your life better. And I use this example of a traffic app on my phone that got me home in time to put my son to bed. I was like, this is good technology. If it enriches my life, it's good technology. If it saves resources, if it saves natural resources, if it saves people time, if it improves people's communication with people that they love, then that's good technology. And so that's why this is important. So,
okay.
So in summary, on the topic of IoT in general, IoT is fun for scrappy little maker projects. It's a blast for that. It's really fun making things that do things. Absolute blast. But it's also key in really big business scenarios. We talk about business scenarios that have tens of billions of dollars at stake for IoT scenarios that they're painting out. One of them that I recently heard about was really interesting. It was simply that of sanitation trucks going around and emptying, or at least observing, dumpsters in the municipalities and discovering that they don't need to be emptied. And so all of the wasted time and energy in locating these dumpsters, finding that they're really only a fraction of the way full or completely empty perhaps, it's a gigantic waste of resources. And to have some relatively inexpensive technology that determines that this network of dumpsters determines their fill level is highly efficient. Now, all of a sudden, you can wait until a dumpster is full before you even go visit it, and you're saving tremendous amounts of time and energy. Lots and lots of money. Really big business scenarios. IoT is huge. We've had a number of technology revolutions over the years. We've all experienced the revolution that was sparked by the iPhone, the revolution that was sparked by the light bulb and the motorized vehicle. I mean, we didn't experience the light bulb, I guess, but I didn't. I wasn't there.
I'm not quite that old.
Okay, there you go. But these are technology revolutions, and IoT is like that, but this one seems like it's this gigantic tidal wave that's just ready to crash down on us because the trend is so huge and so imminent. So I encourage everybody, be a part of this. Be a part of this trend. Be a part of this, this major technological revolution. It is coming, but it's also here. So we're going to talk about it.
Okay.
That covers IoT in a nutshell.
Beautiful. All right. Well, then in that case, we'll wrap this up. We'll come back in the next module and start to dig into IoT.